Guys, if you think about it this way, and this is how I've always looked at it, and maybe that's helped. Like, I hate the word boss. Like, we've had people use that. I'm like, don't call me that.
I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. I bring you successful entrepreneurs, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
Hey, everybody, we are live. Welcome to this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper, episode 113. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, president and founder of Master Networks. I'm joined today with our Chief Operating Officer, Corey Baumann, joining me today in the studio. So we got a lot to cover today, a lot to talk about. As you hop on here, would you let us know you're here? First of all, let us know you're here. We're back in studio, which is exciting.
I know. Seems like forever. Seems like forever.
So let us know you can hear us. We want to make sure that we are broadcasting back in our studio, that you can hear what we're talking about. And we're going to jump right in. Tina says, hey, guys.
Hey, Tina.
Ryan Burkeen, happy Monday. Hey, how are you?
Good to see you.
So it sounds like people can hear us. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear us, or let us know you can hear us. All right. Sounds good. So my guest today, kind of like different introduction today. So a lot of people who follow this broadcast, follow our podcast, know who Corey is. And if you don't, you're going to get to know Corey a little bit today. And even if you know who Corey is, we're going to dive a little bit into who Corey is and how he joined Master Networks, and then ultimately the power of building teams. As the Chief Operating Officer, his job is to build our teams, to train, and to help them grow. So that's going to be the topic of today. So welcome to the.
Thanks.
This is your only.
It's the first time.
113 episodes to get on the show, man.
I know, and we office right next to each other,
Yeah.
which is. But it's an honor to be on the podcast for sure, man.
Yeah, a lot of people hopping on. Guys, share the podcast, share the love, follow the page. Let us know you're here. Corey Myers, hey guys, we can hear you in Lubbock. Love it. So let's start just, I know our history goes back to when you started in real estate, or you were in real estate, and you had been introduced to Master Networks at some level in Pennsylvania. How did that? You were living in Pennsylvania and got introduced. How
I love
worked?
telling this story.
Yeah.
I love it because it's a true story. It's a true Master Networks be in proximity story, right? So I was in real estate. I had been in at that point 7 years, I believe, at that point, and hadn't networked at all. Like I was the guy that was banging the phones 4 or 5 hours a day. And was encouraged to get into networking, start to build referrals, that kind of thing, and was looking for a group and didn't like anything else really that was out there. I was a part of a group actually that we met every other week, talked about our kids and all the stuff, you talk about, but never really, there was no value. There wasn't training. And I think
it's a lot of the social stuff that a lot of us get invited to, right?
It was like $25 for the year. I mean, literally for the year. And I remember them collecting dues and all those things. But there just wasn't a lot of value there. I met some great people, so I was looking for something else. And at the time, the leadership in that region I had known through the real estate company. And he said, "Hey, you should join Master Networks." And I said, "Great. Where do I go? I want to go see one." And he said, "Well, that's the thing. There is none." And so then I said,
so when he said join Master Networks, what he really meant was you should start Master Networks, right?
Yes. Now there was a couple chapters out on the other side of the state, Central PA, and nothing by me. And he said, at that time, that was way back. That was 6 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, we have learned a lot over the years about how to launch chapters, but at that point, we really didn't know a lot. I mean, we launched some. I mean, obviously, you talk about launching that first one. And so I was like, okay, just tell me what I need to do. And that was the thing. Nobody really knew a lot about launching at that point. Yeah. So I got a bunch of people together, meaning I had, 12 people that said they would show up to a meeting. Ended up being 3 of us in a room. One of them was Colleen Felicki, who many of you probably know. Yep. And we launched. We made a lot of mistakes, but we learned. And
so you guys just jumped in and said, "Hey, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna try to get a chapter going, and we may not have all the answers, but we're gonna jump in with effort and energy and excitement and make it work." I
remember I had my mortgage person committed to it. And if you're in real estate or you've ever started a group, the mortgage person's a big, plays a big role. She backed out the night before and said, "Hey, I'm just overcommitted." I was a part of other groups and didn't even have a mortgage person going into that first meeting. And we just grinded it out. We kept inviting, and it built slowly, just because we had 3 people in the room. Now when you can have 25 people in a room, it starts quicker. And then met you at a mastermind. We were doing You were doing like a workshop in the morning, and that was kind of like a mastermind in the afternoon.
I remember it well, man. I was out in central Pennsylvania, right? It was
a full house too, central
Harrisburg.
PA.
Right? Was it Harrisburg?
It was Harrisburg.
Yeah. We were out in Harrisburg, and I remember that. The reason I do so many of these workshops and seminars, and the reason I really remember that right away, aside from meeting you and some of the other leaders, was my father-in-law was having heart surgery during that time. And so it was one of the only times, like at every break, I was checking my phone, and really, like, it was tough to be. I remember how much energy it took for me to be mentally focused in that workshop. So that's why I remember it so vividly, of all the things that were going on in my life. Not to mention, I brought that up at the beginning of the workshop. And I remember there's a gentleman in the back that his half brother or something was the surgeon that was doing the open heart surgery. I'm like, I'm living in Minnesota. I fly to Pennsylvania to do a workshop, and the half brother of the surgeon sitting in the room. Like, I got updates faster through him than I was getting from my family back home. So I remember it well. And it was this workshop. And so what was it like from your perspective sitting? I remember still where you were sitting in the back of the room. What was it like for you during that time of like what you were opening up to mentally, emotionally with Master Networks?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was the first kind of glimpse outside of what I knew as far as our real estate training, which was phenomenal. I was with a great company and unbelievable training. But it opened up my mind to start relationships outside of the real estate. Because sometimes, you get into an industry, whether it's insurance, real estate, and that's the people and you surround yourself with those people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you don't open yourself up to other resources. And that was that. It was like that first moment I was like, wow, I never heard that about business. And that was my real exposure to outside, like really looking at my real estate business as a business and what I could do with it. Yeah. And just all the people it was a full house. I don't know if you remember, there was probably 100 people there in that room. It was great.
Yeah. It was really high energy. That's why I can't wait to get back to doing workshops again. It's really where I love to connect with our members that way and teach. So we have the workshop, and I remember after this, we had a lunch, and you were sitting at the table and we were talking about things, but the conversation it was after the event, like through email and phone calls and such. You had reached out, talk about that.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the little conversation, but didn't get much of your time because it was, there was like 8 of us at the table or something. Yeah. And so I reached out, and I think I just thanked you for being there, and it was cool to meet you. And at the time, I'd also been looking to kind of spread my wings a little bit outside of the real estate organization and coaching. You had followed a similar path that I was looking to take, which we talk about in coaching all the time, is look for somebody that's been there and done that. Yeah. And I said, this is a complete long shot, but I know Chaz coaches. Maybe I'll reach out to Chaz and see. Yeah. And I did. And I think we had an initial phone conversation, and at the time you didn't really have a slot open. Like, you were only coaching a select number of people.
Yeah, let me just step out of that for a second. So from my perspective, I'm launching all of these areas of Master Networks, and coaching, like a lot of you, when you're launching your business, you look for ways to generate revenue. And so Master Networks wasn't generating a ton of revenue because we're a volume business, right? We just didn't have the volume there. And so like a lot of you, I was creating multiple sources of income, and I had been coaching people for a long time. So that was there, but I could only do so much of that. So I kind of set myself, I think it was 5, maybe 6 at the time was all I could have. I think I got up to 8 at one point, but I think I had 5 or 6. And I just felt like it was one of those things in my life where for me to be able to give enough and be focused enough, I could only coach a certain number of people. So when we had the conversation, I was like, there's not a lot of space, man. I don't really have any right now. So just to interject both sides of the table where we were at.
And so mentally I was kind of deflated a little bit, because I was excited, like maybe there's a shot, there's a shot that this guy that's the CEO of Master Networks could potentially coach me. Yeah. And he's been there and built real estate businesses and owned offices and things like that. And it was kind of like deflating, but Chaz said, hey, I'll stay in touch with you. Look, obviously you're part of Master Networks. We'll continue to get to know each other. If something opens up, I'll let you know. And then it kind of,
so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, but I kind of put it on the back burner then. Yeah. I really wasn't intentional about looking for someone else. Yep. And I think it was like a month later or something, you had reached back out and said, hey, good news. I'm not seeing eye to eye with one of my clients. I think that's what it was. And you said, look, they're just not responding to the coaching. It's not a good fit. I had to move on. So I've got a spot opened up. And back up a second. So we had initially talked about cost too. Yeah. And I was looking at it as a cost. And when you said the cost of what it was going to be per month, I was excited, but then I was like terrified at the same time, because I was like, man, I don't know. I don't have the, whatever.
Right.
And you said I had a spot open up, and good thing is the spot's open now, but it might not be open at the end of the week. In fact, I have other people that are looking at it right now. So I'm going to need a decision. And in true Chaz fashion, he said, I'm going to need a decision, by the end of the weekend, I think it was, or something, which I appreciated, because even though I knew it was the right decision, now I'm faced with, oh my gosh, this is actually
a deadline.
Reality.
I got to make a decision.
Deadline. I got to, tell my wife there's, so, it was a no-brainer. So we got into coaching, and then,
so let me back up though, because there's actually a little bit of twist to that.
Okay.
And maybe you're skipping right over that.
Maybe on purpose.
So when Corey first, when I opened up that there was a spot, we had to have a conversation because there was that hesitation, right?
For sure.
And I said, look, I wouldn't be doing my job as a potential coach if I didn't put the deadline on you. So you said you wanted this. If you want it, you need to email me back by this point, or I'm moving on. Mm-hmm. It was, and I think it wasn't a hard thing, but I knew that he wanted to do it, and I needed to help him get where he wanted to be at that time. And just like I've had coaches do the same with me, there's times in life where you want to do something and you want to make that step and you want to make the commitment, but for whatever reason, you maybe didn't have a good experience before, or your customer's been burned by another competitor and they're hesitant. And you taking the lead and telling them what the expectation and the agreement is actually helps them make the decision and move forward. And so I knew that was a pivotal moment. Like, that's either Corey and I never get into a relationship past that, or there's the commitment, you jump in, and to your credit, you said, okay, I'm in, and we jumped and we started into the coaching process.
Right. And you wanted to know if I was going to be serious about one of the most important things in a coaching relationship is the expectations. And you set those very clearly at the beginning when we started coaching. And so then we started coaching, and that's where the relationship started to flourish. And I was, you were able to help me through bringing on my first executive assistant. And,
I remember that well, man.
Oh, what a battle, right? Like, because it was my first one, and it was like, no, you just got to, So working through all those bits and pieces, and it was amazing because we hired the assistant. And even though my path to Master Networks then went faster, and I ended up having to leave her go, it gave her an opportunity to get into the workforce. So, just hiring you as a coach gave that person the opportunity to now, and she's thriving in a high producing real estate team.
Yeah.
But then I started helping with other regions, and it was something that, like, a lot of times you don't see your path going that way. It might not be your intention or your goal, but it just starts to go that way. And because the culture of Master Networks was so in line with what I was used to with the real estate company, and the people I looked at, who's involved with Master Networks at the highest level, I was like, I need to be a part of this at a higher level. I need to serve our members at a higher level. And that's when I started traveling.
I think that the interesting principle, Renee says, love hearing your story. I think the interesting principle here for everyone to remember is if, when you talk about lead generation and raising up your leadership lid and all of the things that a business owner needs to do, networking, et cetera, there's a principle and the power of proximity. And so when I look at people that I want to get in their circle, how do I get there? Like, physically get in their circle and get in proximity. It's always fascinating that people will say, well, how do I connect with so-and-so? And how do I get in their area, get in their space, get in their world? You have to physically sometimes get up and move. And you did that. And then when opportunities came, you were there, qualified, ready to jump in. And so you helped out on the East Coast specifically with that. And then we started this discussion of, look, I was at a place where we were expanding. We had multiple regions. My span of control, again, I needed leverage. I needed talent. I needed all those things. And so we started that discussion of what would that look like if you worked at an even higher level, which meant some decisions would need to be made in the real estate industry, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was a tough call.
It was tough. One of the things that you said to me twice during our relationship, you said it to me when I started working with our East Coast. One of the things that was a tough decision is that we, so I had, I believe, I'm trying to think if Bryn was born at the time. I think she was born when I decided to travel.
Yeah.
And I had this goal that when I started it was just the East Coast, but it was like, I need to get to every region by the end of the year. That was the goal. And it was like on a plane every other week or whatever. Yeah. And I did that. And you said to me, before you take this opportunity, I want you to understand something. I want you to understand this is going to be the biggest challenge personally and professionally you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
And I took it, but not fully knowing, what that was. It truly was. having a newborn and trying to figure out.
And what do you think I meant when I said that? Like now knowing what you know now, what did I mean by that?
Well, I think leadership wise, like I had been, I guess, I had been in a leadership role in our market center with the real estate company, and I had been in different leadership roles, but this was at a much higher level, working with so many different types of personalities, right? Yeah. Through regional partners, through regional leadership. And it was a challenge, to really focus on myself too, and to realize like where my strength was, where did I need to develop, listen more, talk less, things like that I knew about and I had a little bit of chance to grow with, but through that, like just through and organizing the schedule and still, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's a tough challenge anytime that you're in we're all in the people business, but when you're in a leadership position, you have to keep growing constantly. And that's why I was saying right up front, to make that happen. We're getting a lot of great comments, guys. Awesome. If you have a question for Corey, Steven says, what's up, Chaz and Corey? Awesome setup you guys have going.
Thanks, Steven.
Coach Glow. Gary LaRue says, always be qualified. Renee Pride, become valuable to them and ask, right? Yep. Mark Victor Hansen, Crystal Victor Hansen. So in this time, what do you think the biggest lesson for you that you've learned in we've grown the team, we've moved location, we've grown the team, we've expanded, we've added new products, we've added new services, a lot of things have changed in that time already and improved. What do you think the biggest lesson is, especially as a business owner who's starting to expand and grow their business? What do they need to know that you've learned in this role?
I think there's a lot, but I think it's always to be, whether you're ready to bring someone on your team or leverage, you always have to be looking for talented people.
Yes.
And find creative ways to bring them on if someone shows up. And we've had, you've talked about it many times. We've had so many people that have come to us and said, they walked through the office and got to know our team and stuff. And they said, man, I love this. Like, what's going on here? And I want to be a part of that. Elizabeth's created her own role. We had somebody else that came to us and said, I just want to work there. And we said, okay, let's talk about it. And we want to create that sort of an atmosphere that you're always looking for talent and you're able to be able to do that. I
don't think it's even we want to. I think we have.
Yeah.
And I think we're continuing to improve that culture that people are attracted to, or that staff refer their friends. And I think this is an important thing to understand. Always be hiring.
Always.
Don't hire to a position. Always be hiring. Always be looking for talent. Always, especially right now, I would say in this contracted economic mode that people are in, you have a talent pool. And quite honestly, one of the things we have a meeting today, and I'm kind of talking about what's on our agenda for the meeting, but you really got to look at the idea of talent right now could be virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, for some of you who in the past, your roles you thought could only be local.
Yep.
Now you have a talent pool you could search across the country. So some of our members who are in smaller communities, who are like, gosh, there's no one here local that, first of all, I don't believe that. But second of all, if that's the mindset, there's no one local that I can get. Well, you don't have to go local now. Right. Virtual, your talent pool could be across the country without them relocating.
Yeah, and I want to be careful not to make it this opportunistic thing, as we've been talking about that a lot too. But the one thing we have uncovered just from several conversations is that you have a lot of people out there that were happily employed, doing great work, right? That their business just closed, and not their business, but the business they worked for closed. And they're looking for opportunities, and they're willing to sacrifice some of the things they weren't before to be employed, yet their value has not decreased.
Correct.
So you're getting people for a lower cost per se to the organization. And that's why I think it is essential for you to have your feelers out there and be looking for people. And also, the other side of it is that you have got to, and we just did a great exercise this morning with our team. You've got to assess your current team also. Yes.
And
you've got to continue to build the current team so that you know what you have on your current team also.
Yeah. And so many of you listening, and we've talked about this before, and we've got a couple questions coming in. Brad says, Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, get great people on the bus, then decide where the best seat for them is. And look, we've done that. We've moved people around in different roles. Same with you, different positions, myself included. I'll cover this role for a while till we find that person. So some of you are not another tactic strategy away. You're just a person away, bringing that in from your business and changing your future. We talk about that. Victoria has two questions here. Chaz and Corey, what is the most valuable thing you've learned from each other?
It's a good one.
And then her second question is, what does your partnership look like? How do you complement each other? So kind of in the same vein.
That's great.
I
will, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will start off too. And I will say this, and we've had open conversation about this.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things for me actually was to move to Texas and be in an office atmosphere where I was, quote, working for someone again. Like I didn't view it like that, but that was the biggest kind of challenge in my head when you're running a real estate business and you're at the top of it, right? And you're hiring people and like you're making all the decisions and you're setting your own time and schedule. It was a real open conversation that him and I had. And yes, I am a W-2 employee by Master Networks, but it is a true partnership. Like we do. It's like an understanding, but we had to talk about it first so that it's not a, hey, I work for you, Chaz. Now I do at the end of the day, but we've had conversations as more of like partners would, not right. Like it's a coaching relationship more than anything.
And I knew that was going to be a potential, right. And especially, and that's why I believe, and we've talked about this, there are intrapreneurs in every great business who have a value stake, who want interest in profits, potential opportunities. And they see that, and you have a high-minded entrepreneurial drive. But if you create a platform where those people can come into your business and participate, and they see the reward and the opportunity, and you work with them in that, you can't work with like a really high entrepreneurial-minded individual. You have to work differently with, and that's been a powerful thing. So, and Renee made a comment: great points, opportunities all around us when we look for them, and yes, in many ways now more than ever we can change lives, our own and others. So I think probably there's so many things. That's why I was having a hard time. And I think the way we complement and what we learn from each other is, Corey has such a sense of like, you have the ability to see down the road and the immediate at the same time. Mm-hmm. So Corey can see where a lot of people can't see down the road. They can only see down the road or at the immediate, right? And that's a tough thing, to be able to see a big picture down the road. What is the impact of the decisions we're making today have later? And not everyone can see that, or they can only see that. And they don't understand the impact it's going to have today when we make that change or when we make that improvement. And so the benefit for I think the way we complement is I tend to be a look at it way out here. And so Corey then can help connect the dots all the way in. And that's when like, it's like our superpowers come together, if you will, in that vein. There's a lot I think we could talk about, but I want to make sure. Gary says, always keep your head up and keep your head on a swivel, looking for great people and great opportunities. No question. No question. I think that's a powerful thing.
I think what was the term? Intrapreneur, right? So the intrapreneur is an opportunity out there right now too. Now,
massive.
Be careful, because if their business failed, it could have been, you really look at the person, right?
But there's people out there that, fair, who knows why? Right.
But figure out why, right? Get down to the, have a good process for that. But there's people out there that could have owned businesses. Maybe it was a small business they were growing, and this, timing was everything, right?
Yeah.
They could have that could be a huge asset to you. Don't not look at that, because you look at it, well, that person's just going to butt heads with me because, they want to run everything. And that's,
this is an interesting time that I think you should have that idea of, I'm always hiring, always looking for great talent, always looking for people that push me, not that I have to pull. That's a tough thing to look at, and pushing people to be better in themselves. And I think that's where great coaching as leaders are. There's times we have to have both ways tough conversations. But the reason you have those is because you care about the outcome, you care about the person, you care about them getting results, you care about their success. If you didn't, you don't have those conversations. I mean, coaches, that's what you do. You have sometimes not the most ideal of, hey, ho-hum, let's lock arms and skip down the road kind of conversation. Yeah. Sometimes there's tough. I mean, I've had those with Dave. I've had those with many coaches in the past. And so that's an important piece of this. So Victoria asks, Corey, what has been your biggest challenge as COO of Master Networks, and how do you leverage to overcome that? That's
a lot in there. These are some good questions.
I love the questions. Really
Victoria. Good. Well, leverage enough is that's a challenge.
Yes.
And that's, just talking specifically right now, there's been a lot of dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We go working virtually, so then we have to figure that out. However, the other piece we didn't talk about is I'm also a regional partner in Pennsylvania, right? So it's we go working virtually. The first thing we did was how do we support the members? So not only am I supporting on the national level with our team, making sure our team is working effectively. Then I got the other hat that's making sure the Pennsylvania folks specifically. The biggest challenge I would say for me right now is there's a lot of big rocks within the organization, with things that are great, right? Technology, all these things that we're working on that are necessary, and it's to be able to leverage the team properly, because one of the blessings and also one of the challenges is that we are constantly we're reinventing things too. Always. In a good way that makes us who we are. It makes us, but then you're constantly looking at who can do the job the best in that area. So it's juggling of how does our team work most effectively on whatever we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I think anytime you go from I'm doing, and you all know this when you're in your business each day, right? You go from doing the job to it's the I do it, we do it, they do it. And there's these transition periods from when I do it to we do it to they do it, for everybody, myself included. When you get to leverage, now your task becomes different. Now it becomes clear communication, accountability, coaching, training, educate, equip, empower, all of those things that we teach. Those then become the jobs to help the people that you've asked to leverage, to make sure they have everything they need, so forth. So Brad says, how do you manage the hierarchy of leadership in Master Networks with your close friendship? It's good.
That's a good one. It's challenging at times, for sure. Yeah. I think we've intentionally set kind of parameters. Like we have our update meetings and things like that. Our update meetings we're very intentional about what each meeting is. And I think the expectations going into those meetings, like when we have an update meeting, it's what's the agenda? Let's get down to business. What are we executing today? What we need to work on, that kind of thing. But then we also have that relationship that, Chaz walks into my office and we might talk about him coaching football or whatever that is. Yeah. We're able to kind of turn the switch on and off, where I think that is tough, I think, for a lot of people. I think we've done a good job of that.
I do too. I think what you got to, in my opinion, what you have to do is you have to sort of understand that there are business topics that we talk about, where I'm holding, Corey accountable to something, but that's not a reflection of like the person, right? It's a business job. It's a task, but I can still at the same time understand enough about Corey to, ask about hunting or his family or his whatever it is, and vice versa. You have to be able to understand that, hey, when we're in the mode of talking about business, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about business, and you have to. And I actually think, a lot of times it was, you shouldn't do business with your friends because, how do you separate it? And I actually think that working with people you enjoy doing life with is very, very important. Yes. And so forth. So I think that that's how we manage that hierarchy, if you will. But here's the reality. And I wish I had a visual of this, because Brad, I love the question. Guys, if you think about it this way, and this is how I've always looked at it, and maybe that's helped. Like, I hate the word boss. Like, we've had people use that. Yeah. I'm like, don't call me that. Yeah. Like, that's not how I look at it. If you looked at a hierarchy org chart and you've got the owner at the top and you've got leverage as it starts to build down, the way I look at it is you flip that thing completely upside down. So the weight of the world, that's why it feels that way as a business owner. You have that whole org chart on your shoulders. And then the next person you've leveraged up to, which right now is Corey, he's got all that weight as well, right? So the reality is that the way I view it, and I honestly believe this is, and you said this, it's not that Corey works for me. I work for Corey, and Corey works for our team, and our team works for the members. Like, it has to be that way. And I think if you have that perspective as a business owner, it changes the way you interact with your team. Yeah. That's why I have such a hard time letting go. Yeah. Because I work for everyone. Like, it's like, if I let go, then I'm not doing my job to support you, right?
So that's how I have the same issues sometimes.
Yeah. So we've got some great questions continuing. Renee says, yes, hierarchy is for the purpose of responsibility, not power. Love that.
Love it.
Servant leadership. You're there to help them as a leader. It's so true. Yeah. Victoria says, after 10 years, Chaz, of Master Networks, what is something you have accomplished that you're most proud of so far? And what would you like to see next? Man, she is on fire today.
She's planned these
Renee
questions.
Says girlfriend is on fire with her questions.
Yeah.
These feel like plants, even though they're not.
I know.
So Renee,
she's prepared over the weekend.
Yeah, Renee knew, so she's come.
Renee gave her the question.
Yeah, there we go. So,
no, I'm just kidding.
What is something in almost 10 years that there's so many things to be most proud of. I mean, there's parts of like my books. I was proud of doing those, like, just from the personal struggle of accomplishment. But I think Connect was a huge.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I know we're talking about like your stuff, but like I would say the proudest moments for me in Master Networks has been the countdown. Like we launched Connect. Like that's always been the most like emotional. Like, and I don't know if it's because you just put a ton of work into it, then you see people come together and you go, there is going to be lives changed over the next 2 days, and you like you know that you've done something that is truly going to change somebody's life. Connect is like some of the proudest moments. For sure.
Yeah, it's hard because I have a lot of proud moments. I have these moments where I think sometimes the proudest is when we have somebody, Victoria, I mean, I think, is a good example. I could probably list 15 or 20 right off the top of my head of people who, and it's different in each case, right? So I'm not just picking on that one, but, I don't think I'm going to be a good regional partner. I don't know if I can launch a chapter or whatever it is, and finding out that it's up, it's running, it's strong. It's like, and I haven't been involved at all. And I'm proud to see that the model we've built, that others can take it and make it their own, and we've created a platform that others are succeeding in. It'd be one thing to create a product and sell millions and millions of dollars of a product. Great. But I think the fact that we've created a platform that others can succeed within is probably the most.
And obviously you sat down with intention when you built the initial model of Master Networks, right? But there was a lot of question marks, right? You didn't know, would it take off? Who would like it? Who would not? I mean, look at those first couple of years, right? Would anyone, and that story you've told many times. So that's, I mean, I could see where that'd be huge. And we continue to evolve the model, but it was the first set of ideas that if they weren't there.
I think too, like with anything, is when you have a platform like this that we are able to touch so many lives, and when you work with people, I've talked about certain individuals who we've pushed hard. I mean, we've pushed some individuals to a point where they got to make decisions, and seeing them overcome their own. I mean, I can think of like people who've expanded their own thinking to grow their business or write their book or start their nonprofit or whatever it is. And just to think at any level, we had just even if it was just the conversation, we had that level of impact in it. Like that's the proudest stuff. So
for sure,
I love that piece of it. So what's next? Like, how do you keep building the team and making an impact? And what's next for you in the role?
Sorry. What's next for me in the role? Huh? Well, I mean, some of the things we probably can't talk about right now.
Yeah, those are top secret.
Top secret things. But no, I think.
What would you like to see, for the platform and for the members going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited with having a new quote technology platform for everyone at some point. That's obviously one thing we've been working really hard on. I think what's been really cool, rewarding, inspiring, all of those words over the last, I would say, 2 months is our why statement that we created. What was it? I don't even know.
Almost 2 years ago.
We recreated it. So we had, for those of you guys that weren't around back then, we had a mission and vision statement, which we still have, by the way. But Chaz was in a chapter meeting in Texas, and he came back to the office and he said, just like we normally do, we stood up and we recited the mission and vision statement, and it just wasn't resonating. And I looked around the room, and it just wasn't resonating with people. We need to go back to the drawing board with this. And we brought some regional leaders from around the country, and we went through the process of reinventing the mission vision and turning it into a true why statement. And what's been so cool is seeing the why statement be lived out over the last, and it was being lived out, but not truly. We're really seeing that being lived out right now around the country over the last, couple months. And my hope is that culture, and I do think it's at a place now where, if someone else said, hey, I want to start a networking organization, they can duplicate the train, like,
right.
They can come in and create a model that has training, and they have these things. They can look at our agenda, and
some have tried.
And some have tried.
Yeah.
More power to them, and that's great. The thing that doesn't concern us is that somebody can create the same culture and be backed up by a powerful why statement like we have done. Well, you have done as members of Master Networks. That will, we're talking about like gaining market share, during these times, because people had, I'm not talking about Master Networks specifically, but any business has gained market share if you just stayed in touch with your clients. Think about the market share, right, that Master Networks has gained in the networking world over the last 2.5 months by just doing the right things, staying together as a unit. And there's nothing that can stop that. Like that will just evolve and grow. And my hope is that continues to flourish and evolve in whatever way that it makes sense. Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to interject. And now everyone's going to get to see a little bit of you and I back and forth. Right. This is good. So I disagree a little bit. Okay. And this will be fun for us to go through to watch everyone watch this. So here's where I disagree. I'm actually highly concerned about our culture in the sense that the only thing that I feel it could stop it is us.
For sure.
Right. Is the change of culture. You can see that in communities right now. You can see it in is the division. Right. And so how do we protect that? Because if we don't, and if we don't pay really close attention to that culture, then somebody else can have a decent, average, or even good culture, and they do surpass them. You see this in businesses, right? A company gets, I just use the word lazy in their culture, or they take it for granted, or they get complacent in that culture, and then a new company arises who's just crushing it. And all of a sudden, boom, before it feels like overnight success, but yet it's been creeping up on you because you're lazy in your culture, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So how do you protect that?
Well, and we could get into a conversation about culture too, but like there's the feel good piece of culture. And I am talking about that specifically, but it's the intention, the actions that we're taking that create that culture. Yeah. So we need to continue to create the actions, which means we need to continue to launch chapters powerfully.
Yes.
Right. We need to launch chapters at 25. Like we launch these chapters, you know what I mean? Like launch chapters, because through the growth, it creates the culture also. Yes. Right. So the actions that we take, the intentions that we have with our members doing face-to-faces and truly bonding and learning about each other so they can pass qualified referrals, all of the things that we do, the commitment to culture, right? Those things we need to not continue to do, but even do better.
Constant improvement.
Yes.
Keep growing it. And Corey has a huge impact on that. People are saying, I love the why statement video, love it in our weekly meetings and so forth. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a constant continuing thing to keep growing our chapters and protecting our culture. Man, we've already been 40 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
We are 40 minutes.
40 minutes on the episode. Awesome. So that's what happens when it takes 113 episodes.
I know. What the heck?
COO on
what the heck?
on the episode. So, man, thank you. So first of all, I want to make sure that people what can they plug into to get more training from you? I know you do several different things. Where can they plug in leadership call, et cetera?
Yeah. So we have the E3 show. That is the second Thursday of every single month. And so we will, we continue to bring on guests. It's, all about leadership. We go over several different topics. That's a good way to get training. That's the one thing. And then we have the lives that are going on. So just a reminder to everyone, we have a different host every single night of the week.
What night are you?
I'm Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
So every Wednesday, I'll have a guest on. Most likely we'll be talking about not necessarily just operational type things, but a lot of different things, highlighting members across the country, that kind of thing. We had, I know Brad's on here. We had Brad on last week.
It was good. Brad did a good job.
Good guest. And then honestly, here's what I will say. The thing that people don't take advantage of enough is a face-to-face meeting. I've, over the past, month, I would say I've gotten really intentional about blocking certain times to do face-to-faces with members. And I'm open to doing that. So reach out and we'll do a face-to-face, because that's how I know I get feedback from you. I know, I learn about your business. I know that what can we do at the headquarters level, right, to be able to present you with the best support, best value in training and things like that too, because I'm talking to the Sarah Bungys and all of those people as they develop their things. So
And if you want to meet Corey, come to Connect, attend-connect.com.
Did you throw it up there?
I did. Good. Well, I didn't throw it up, but I put it there. Yeah,
it's there.
Attend-connect.com is up on the screen. We do have tickets available, tickets for sale.
Yeah.
Really, we talk about proud moment. This Connect's going to be so different for many reasons, but it's a special Connect for a lot of what's happening and what's going on. So make sure you attend. And be there. Corey Myers says face-to-face meetings are so important. I need to pick it back up.
Yeah.
#slacker the last 2 weeks. Come on, Corey.
Yeah.
Don't be a slacker. Get after those face-to-face. The best time to do them.
Yeah. And do them across the country.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. Building a network.
We love you, Corey. You do a good job in Lubbock.
Yeah.
Corey, thanks for being guest on episode 113.
Wow.
113 episodes.
I can't believe it.
That's
awesome, man. Yeah. You've had some really, really powerful guests on too. So
we've got some good guests coming.
Privileged to be on the podcast after so many people that you've had on, man.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Guys, remember every Monday, noon Central, bring successful people. They're going to share the ups, the downs, successes, the challenges. We learned a lot about Corey today. Brad says 66 days until Connect.
Love that.
I love that you got the countdown clock up, right?
Yeah.
So we look forward to seeing all of you at Connect. Make sure you get a ticket, bring a friend. Those who need this right now, there's a lot out there that need this, as do we. So we're looking forward to it as well. Again, every Monday, noon Central, I'll bring you successful people to share their wisdom with you. So guys, again, thank you for joining us this day for Connect, Share, Prosper. Corey, thank you. And you. Till next week, guys. Be well. We'll see you.
See you guys. Take care.